Hello everyone, welcome back to another art time lapse. This is one of my first art time lapses for the year 2024, and I thought I'll do something a little bit similar and familiar, but like with a slight tweak to it. So today I'm going to start off with a painting that is themed around like dreamy clouds. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know how much I love painting clouds. I find that they are very surreal, very kind of like magical and like very soft, and overall I feel very calm. It's a very calming activity for me. So to paint clouds, one of the first things I do is I would cover my page of watercolor paper with water, saturated water, and then I would slowly add blotches of colors onto my piece. I don't usually do outlines for my painting to begin with, so these darker shades and lighter shades is how I kind of stake out where the clouds are going to be, where the shadow is going to be, where it starts and where it fades. The great thing about using gouache and mixing in water is that it does have that watercolor effect. It feels ultra diluted, and like this effects makes it very like ideal if you're painting clouds. Some of the lines, as you can see as they dry, are not as well defined, which is what I want, how the clouds kind of blend into the sky in some parts of the piece. So to start off, you can see I'm using some purple or lilacs, and I'm also using the kind of this peachy orange. I didn't want my clouds to be one-dimensional, just like blues or like dark blues and different shades of blue. It actually makes some of these scenic clouds more interesting when you integrate different shades of color. Sometimes it could be like a cyan, it could be a magenta, and like sometimes blending it with a color white, like an opaque white, will also give you a very different vibe. So for clouds, I generally use many different shades to create the layering and dimensions. One thing to note about painting of clouds is that like it is a little bit time sensitive, because like once the water dries, you will not be able to necessarily go back and get that water diluted effect to make it a little bit more blended. So you will have to be quite patient with this piece, and that when it needs to be like kind of time sensitive, you will need to allocate a sufficient amount of time to do a piece like this. For me right now with two little ones, time is really on the crunch to do hobbies like this. So one of the ways I get around it is by painting like smaller pieces. So in the past I would do much larger pieces, 11 by 14 inches or more, but for now, for this kind of like square grid, I believe it's like 9 by 9 or 6 by 6, it's just much more realistic for me to paint clouds within these dimensions to finish within the amount of time that I have. So this is one of the tips I'm giving if you say I don't really have time to do artwork. Sometimes like it's rationalizing the size of the artwork that you do, so you don't feel like pressured that like, oh, I only have like this much of time, I need to finish. Like really takes the pressure off. And on the comment of patience, doing clouds require you a little bit of time, patience, waiting for the paint to dry. Because as you add on different layers of paint and different layers for the cloud, you will need to wait for the previous layer to dry before adding on the next layer, or else the paint or the gouache itself becomes a bit muddled, as you will see. And that's something I've learned over time. Hopefully these tips are helpful for you when you are painting gouache for the first time and just try to figure out like, how does this medium work for you? Right now I'm going back with this white gouache and just adding highlights where I think the clouds will kind of peak and where the light will hit the clouds. When you're doing a piece like this, it's important to think about like perspective and where the light is coming from. That will help you figure out where to add the highlights and the shadows. Do this early on in the piece so it'll give you more direction. Here you can see I'm adding more white, and it's actually doing really well blending in with the rest of the colors. At the beginning I thought the clouds were quite dark, but once you add on the white and blend in that color, the clouds soften up and become very fluffy. I find this very therapeutic because unlike drawing portraits, like a lot of times you can say, yeah, this portrait does not look like the actor, actress, or the actual person I am drawing. But for clouds, there is somehow like the flexibility and the liberty to be a little bit more creative and like not feel like it has to be exactly one way. Speeding things up for you, you can see the clouds are slowly coming together. For a piece like this, it takes me around, I want to say at least 2 hours or so to get to this point. This is with repeated practice, so don't feel pressured that like, oh man, I'm starting off and like it's taking me a long time. I've had a lot more practice to speed up to the process and timing that I have now. And we all progress in different ways. And in this video, I just want to remind you to be kind to yourself and don't feel pressured to have everything perfect or like within this like imaginary or defined time frame. Here you can see I'm painting in the grass on the bottom with many different types of greens and adding some burnt umber and like different types of browns. If you are following along on my painting journey on this, you could, if you were to replicate this painting, use like different colors besides the green for the grass. You can have a feel of daffodils or flowers as well. You can see I've left room for 2 little characters on the corner, and that is my Gummy unicorn and a little monster named Gary. These are the make-believe names of my kids' character or their ego self. So I decided to put them in a painting for one of my first paintings for 2024. I don't know if I'll be doing more of these characters in future artwork, but for now, this is their first appearance in 2024 for my Gummy unicorn and Gary. I can see the 2 of them sitting on a vast, beautiful field and just admiring nature and the dreamy clouds above. So that's it for my art time lapse today for Gummy Unicorn and Gary. They're Avengers together. Let's see if we will see more of these characters in my paintings coming up. Thank you so much for joining me on this art time lapse, and hopefully I will see you in future videos. Stay safe and stay creative, everyone. Bye for now.